So the idea behind it is to, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, seeing that they can, build this real life and how it, withstands our climates here in Ontario, and for building multifamily homes and small homes as well, which would be just pretty awesome that they're getting into this, and that it's happening here in Ontario as well.
How big of a 3D printer would you need to build? Like, even if you're doing it in small increments, like to be, I guess based on that image, because they do it, like even just the...
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Yayos! We're back.
I love that new intro, man. That new intro is just kick ass.
Stellar. It's stellar. We're really repping the Canadian uniforms today. I got my flannel. Greg's got his Canadian tuxedo. Dave's got his comfortable hood on. Well, it's not even a hood. Sweater. We're back. We're back. It's the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. My name is Paul Stevenson. I'm here with Greg Campbell. I'm here with David Warren. And we like talking about real estate, mortgages, really whatever else we want to talk about that week. I'm one of the owners of Referral Mortgages in Ottawa. And I'm joined with David Warren, who's my business partner, and Greg Campbell. He is a managing director right now at
the title I was given. That's the
managing
title.
Director. How's everything going with the agency? How's the first couple of weeks?
It's good. It's business as usual, other than we've gotten calls from
everyone.
Some calls from a lot of calls just asking about what happened, what's going on, what's up with the change. Calls from other agents just inquiring, about what it offers and what might be different.
So I was talking to a mortgage agent this week. And they told me that I was asking them, what sort of referral sources. They were new to the industry, and I asked them, where you plan to get your leads from and so on. And they were talking to me about this real estate team that they know really well, grew up with. And they were telling me that team is actually considering switching to the agency, which just came to Ottawa. I said, oh, of course. I know all about the agency, actually. So it's pretty funny. I meant to actually tell you about that off air, but here we are.
I wonder which team that is.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Let's keep that quiet.
Yeah. What's going on in Ottawa? What's the week? What's the past week been looking like as far as numbers, movement? I know I've seen a lot more sales recently. So.
Yeah, it's more of the same. There's there's more listings coming out. It's slowly changing, but the average sales price to list price is 114%. So it's still up. And I can't. I don't know where it's going to go. There's a lot of people that are still losing out in multiple offers. There's some people that I know are putting on the brakes after losing a lot. I was just talking to a colleague. Their clients had lost quite a few back to back, and now they just said, you know what, we're just going to wait. They're getting married in the summer, so they've kind of just shifted gears, which is fair. I can get that. That's a lot of losing a lot of offers doesn't keep you optimistic, So for some, it's challenging. I've got a couple that I had some that stepped back. I had another one that just stepped back. But I had a couple transactions done as well. So it keeps moving. I know that there's going to be more coming out. I can feel a shift. I've got listings coming out. And like I said, this is my slowest start to listings ever. Well, in the last 5 years anyways. So with that being said, if I'm seeing that happening, I think that some other agents will be seeing that as well. So I'm confident there's going to be a lot more and that we're going to stabilize in the next little bit.
Greg, I know, both of you, I think I sent it to you Thursday of last week, but we were talking about new builds and basically getting into those auctions. And I don't think I talked about it on the show, but I'll repeat it again. Yeah. So I apologize if I did talk about it last week, but there was someone who was telling me, a real estate agent, that mentioned that they had a client that was putting in their name into the kind of auction hat. So with a lot of the new constructions, they'll usually release, 6 to 8 homes, and then you have to kind of put your name in the hat, you give a deposit, and then it's literally a lottery system. And they said for this one builder, they had 8 units and there was 400 names in the auction, which is madness, just madness.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's still definitely an issue as far as just supply is still super low. So it would be great to see, a flood of homes of people in the city that are moving to a different province and just not needing another home in Ottawa.
Yeah. And it's, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I talked to some other builders, I was talking to Mattamy last week, and in some of their locations, or one of their locations, they're releasing like 4 at a time. It's the same thing. There's like 400 people calling in, trying to get the house. I was talking to a couple of buyers last week about I've been talking to them for the last few weeks, new builders, and I've just been having conversations with the builders, trying to see what they have coming up. A lot of them, like, nothing's coming out till summer. Some of them, like I said, there's, they're releasing 2 to 4 at a time, and it's just total lottery style. Like,
and why is that?
They let everybody know. They let everybody know that this is happening, and then whoever gets back to them, that's it.
But why is it that they're only releasing, or that they're, a few at a time? Because typically in the past, it's been a full phase one, and it's, 20 homes or 50 homes. Why only?
I think they're just doing what they can. They're just doing what they can, I think, instead of waiting. I don't know if it's beneficial or not. I think the smarter way of doing it is to release it in phases, obviously full phases, but I've seen them stepping back and doing this new model for the last little while. And I actually, you know what? It's a good question, Dave. I don't know the specifics. Maybe I'll have some more conversations and ask that. Could just be other issues that we don't know about.
Yeah.
But because it used to be like in phase one, they'd kind of released, here's 100 units. There's, 20 single families, 60 condos, and whatever else, or a couple duplex or semis or what have you. And then phase two, they'd kind of have another section, but you're basically reserving your lot and build. Right now, they're doing it, like you said, like kind of 6 to 8 homes at a time, which again goes back to the supply and demand issue. If you have super little supply, it's never, it's not going to help home prices.
Yeah, they're almost impacting the pricing as well, right? They're limiting the supply artificially, even potentially, to then increase the price on that future few homes they release. I know a lot of builders that they've been, they did actually lose a lot, or margins really shrunk over the past couple of years, because they signed purchase agreements so long ago. And then the price of building increased so substantially, whether that be through wages on trades and materials and things like that, that those margins were really shrunk, or they're at a loss. And so it could be also a strategy where they're trying to make up some of that ground right now while there is such a high demand.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing in fuel now, right? Like, even like, for example, on fuel, I got a call from our snow removal company, and they were very transparent about it. They said, listen, we're not asking you for extra money. We found out, yeah, kind of, but it was in they explained it. They're like, some of the other snow removal companies have already billed their clients. They're like, but we're asking you if you have any extra, if you could donate, because our margins are definitely not being met now because of the fuel costs. And I was like, wow. I'm like, that's, I'm actually going to do it because the service has been amazing, and I can understand it, like being in business and shit. And like, this just comes out of nowhere. These guys are, they work hard. They got to pay. I mean, you understand it's a business, but I mean, I like the way that they approached it. So I'm happy to help, because I mean, everybody's hit by it. I had another comment about the builds, and now I totally lost it because I was talking about snow removal. Damn it.
I will throw it back to you though, Greg. You had a great story for us last week, and we need to know the outcome. What happened with your buyers at that million versus $1,050,000?
It.
Did you?
We got it.
You got it at the million?
Yeah, we got it.
Amazing.
We got it done. It's amazing. We're putting one of their properties on the market actually this week, Thursday. Yeah. Crazy.
That's hilarious.
Crazy story. I love it.
Yeah.
We should have both of those guys on. We should have Nick Funditis, who was the agent on the original buy, and then we'd have Fred Jaja, who was the listing agent. That would be a great conversation, just to get the perspective of the whole circle, so people can kind of see how that worked. And they were like, everybody was amazing. Like, everybody's been doing it like in the business long enough, so it was really, although it was a strange situation, it was handled very well, I think, from all three parties.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I'm glad to hear for your buyers' sake that
that's
everything
awesome.
worked out.
Congratulations to Greg's buyers, if
Thank
you're listening.
They are listening.
Holla. So we had a question on YouTube last week talking about the no conditions and so on, and a very interesting question regarding the Canadian military. So I'll read it to you guys, and we can just have a quick discussion about it. So it says, hey guys, I heard from a friend that works for the Department of National Defense that the military will have one of the longest and biggest active posting seasons this year. meaning that many military personnel may be moving in and out of cities across Canada this year. This is supposed to take place from May to October. Normally, it's only a 3-month season, but this year it will be 5 months. Perhaps this will cause listings to go up more than expected this year, but of course, for every military seller, you would think that there would be a military buyer. So this may be a zero-sum gain in terms of demand, I believe. Now, the big question is, if most of these military members moving into Ottawa from places like Gagetown, where homes are more affordable, would the military member choose to buy a higher valuation or rent in Ottawa? Maybe you have more insight on how this active posting season for military personnel may affect the local housing market. Thank you.
You sure will.
There's a lot in there.
A lot in there.
Yeah.
Let's unpack it a little bit.
It's a good question because it's not something that I do relocation. I don't do tons of relocation. It usually comes from just a referral from it. It does come from a past military referral usually. But that's interesting. Like I haven't heard anything about that because I'm not super involved in it, but it's a very valid question. Especially, people coming from a smaller town where they may have sold for 400,000, then they're going to buy something for 7. And typically anyone who comes on a relocation is going to want to buy. Now, I do have comments about this because, this is a specific military relocation situation. So a number of years ago, we had, when I was working with my mother full time, we had a buyer come in and they bought and this was kind of when Orleans started taking it just wasn't where it was before. There was a lot of change. I think it was the RCMP moved out. Anyways, there was a bunch of relocations that weren't really posting. No one was really coming into Orleans. Everyone was going to Barhaven in Canada. And so they came in and they said, we want to be in Orleans because they could get more bang for their buck. They bought it. And I had said to them, I said, you guys are going to stay here for 5 years. Like, you got 5 years here, right? They're like, yeah, give or take. Because they were talking about doing a big renovation and everything. And I said, if you have to sell soon, I don't think you're going to get your money back. So anyways, a year and a half later, they got a reposting that they couldn't refuse, had to go. And what they had put into the house versus what they had paid for it, there was no way. It was impossible to get what they wanted for it. So they lost, right? And they lost, I would say they probably lost about 50 grand on that transaction. So with the way that I see the market going, and again, I always say this, there's no crystal ball, but if you look at the cycle of history in real estate in Ottawa, it seems like we're at the absolute peak and we're coming to a more stabilized market. I would be hesitant to spend top dollar here unless you know that you're staying. If you know that you're staying for 5 years, no problem. But if there's any thought that you may have to leave after 1 or 2 years, I would definitely rent.
It's interesting.
I would rent and buy an investment property in the city of Ottawa. I don't know.
A lot of the military clients that I've dealt with, they've come from, obviously out of town and some of the smaller communities, like you mentioned, and they don't have a desire to live in the city either, though. So they're buying in the Limoges and Rockland and things like that are outside outside the city. So it's certainly an interesting question, comment from Sharon. I didn't know that posting period had been extended, so it will be interesting to see how that does impact things. Will it be a zero-sum game? Who knows? Because a lot of those same military people that I work with that have been at D&D in Ottawa here and maybe purchased and then posted elsewhere, sometimes they're posted overseas. They're keeping their property. They're just converting it to a rental because they don't know when they're going to be coming back. And maybe they're posted overseas and they don't want to give up that property. They do see it as an investment. And so that's just a property that goes into the rental market as opposed to resale as well. So I think there's a number of components. I don't think it will be a zero sum. I think if you're in Gagetown or you're in a smaller or Trenton or something like that, who knows? They might be looking to unload because they need that equity. But maybe if it's a lot being moved overseas, and I don't know if it's posted just within Canada that he's referring to or overseas postings. But with the global climate of everything going on overseas, I would imagine a lot of those are postings to outside the country, I would think.
On the mortgage side too, for military, for people that don't know, if they break midterm, they actually have, I think it's Brook Street, Dave, is that the name of the organization?
Brookfield.
Brookfield, sorry.
Brookfield.
Brookfield. So they basically will help cover the penalty, but also they help cover the like all the moving costs and so on. So it does alleviate some of that. From a financing standpoint, it alleviates some of that fear of potentially moving midterm or something like that. And I know you were mentioning, Greg, about the prices potentially could go down, but from a mortgage standpoint, with rates increasing and so on, there is a bit of a safety net there for them on that side, on our side, I should say. So that is something as well. I just figured I'd throw that out there because obviously, I never knew about it until we got into mortgages that existed. So it is something that is kind of there, which is great. I'm happy that our service men and women have that available to them. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. But I mean, Ottawa is, like you said, Dave, there's a lot of those really nice surrounding areas that are still affordable. I mean, I'll use the word affordable because the people buying in the city right now are really, most of them are, I think we talked about a few weeks ago, I think it was like 20 to 25% of them are outside investors, from within Canada, but just see it as an investment opportunity. They're buying them as investment properties. And that's why, the rental, I did say before we came on air here that there was an article I read this morning about rental rates across Canada increasing. And I think it said they had increased 20% since last year. And the average rent now in Canada for a single family was just over $2,600. So speaking of rent, I mean, it's still, maybe could be affordable, but I mean, the mortgage payment for $2,600, you're looking at somewhere in the, eight kind of 700,000 to 800,000 range. So it would be pretty much on par if you're looking at a single family home.
Yeah, I do want to mention something, Dave. I like your point about living outside of the city. A lot of the relocations I have done have been like Limoges, Embrun, Castleman, etc. They don't mind the drive, especially coming from a smaller town that might be a little bit further out from where they're working.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see if any of those new developments in Limoges and the nation and whatnot get off the ground soon enough to satisfy some of those. Yeah,
I was out in Russell on Saturday morning, and there is a lot of green space out there still. So I feel like there's going to be some all the way down that highway, right? Anytime you go down,
keep going.
Oh yeah.
I got one more comment about relocation that people that might not know, especially if you're military, RCMP. We are part of. You have to work with a Brookfield agent. I am one of those agents. So there's a directory of realtors that are approved to work with Brookfield. Not everybody can or has taken the time to have that privilege, I guess you could say. And for those of you that don't know too, there is the military that works with these realtors has a discount rate for commissions. So if you are a seller and you don't know about this yet, there is a discount in commission payable to the realtors on the buy and the sell side.
That's awesome. We should say that usually, and I'd imagine that it'll definitely happen if this is, and we should actually bring it up to some of our lenders, Dave, but in the past, lenders have had military promotions for rates and so on. So getting discounted rates and so on, especially with rates rising, very important to keep your eye on that. So if you are military personnel and you are moving to Ottawa or moving outside of Ottawa, feel free to give Dave and I a call and we can give you a more detailed quote as to what's possible and so on. But I would feel like if this is going to be something that is being extended, that a lot of the lenders are going to, use that as an opportunity to provide that service to the personnel. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And if we see anything come out, we'll certainly mention on the show as well.
Yeah.
We were speaking of building an article that we came across last week, which was pretty neat. There's a company that's partnered with the Windsor Essex Innovation Fund, I think it was.
Windsor Essex.
To build very British. To build 3D affordable housing, 3D homes. So they partnered. So the Innovation Fund in Windsor has partnered with this company. Wow. and in partnership as well with Habitat for Humanity. And they're going to build the first of its kind, a 3D printed home. So the idea behind it is to, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, seeing that they can, build this real life and how it, withstands our climates here in Ontario and for building multifamily homes and small homes as well, which would be just pretty awesome that that they're getting into this, and that it's happening here in Ontario as well.
How big of a 3D printer would you need to build? Like, even if you're doing it in small increments, like to be, I mean, I guess based on that image, I mean, because they do it like even just the,
I mean, if it's
once,
I did see a video before of them kind of like a mock of it, and it's basically on a robotic arm that kind of moves around, like hovers around and kind of builds. But it will be interesting to see what the real life, what comes of it, how it's built, the finished product, and of course, like obviously making sure that it can withstand our climate here, especially through our brutal winters in Ontario. But this is something that would be awesome. I mean, it certainly would help the affordable housing supply that's needed, and there was another article that talked about the Ontario affordable housing report that was put together. They had kind of a meeting maybe the last few weeks or something like that, and it came out where they said that there needs to be 1.5 million. They need to increase the amount of affordable housing being built to 1.5 million new homes for just affordable housing over the next decade. So basically doubling what they originally had said. I think something like this, if they can get this off the ground, this is the way in which they can achieve that, because the regular bricks and sticks, we've seen that that's not going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see, because if they can get these going 24/7 and just pumping them out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Awesome.
I love it.
Like
Just
the
when you
Willy
think there's
Wonka,
no
Wonka
solutions,
factory of
there's a
homes.
solution.
What was that, Greg?
There's
That
a
sounded deep.
solution. I'm just saying, just when you think there's no solutions, there's a solution.
Okay.
Stick those Waterloo eggheads on the job, and they'll figure it out.
Get it done.
Yeah. No, it'll be awesome. And I think there was another article that you had, Paul, was there not?
It was just talking about the rent prices. So, I mean, it just says that the average rent for all property types listed on rentals.ca in January was $1,807 per month, up 4.4 from January 2021. That's still down from an average of $1,879 in January 2020 and $1,855 in January 2019. So it's actually lower than past years. But then that's for all property types. But then the detached house rentals was the one that I was commenting on earlier. So that said, while overall rents are only up slightly, single-family homes are in high demand, with the average monthly rent up nearly 20% over the past year to $2,652. In comparison, the average rent for condo rentals increased 13% to $2,227, while monthly rent for apartments, such as purpose-built rentals and units in houses, was up just 2.1% to $1,639 in January.
I think there's one thing we should comment on there, because the rent, those rents, that increase is only on new rentals. Like a buyer buys an investor buys a property, that's their rental rate. Like if you're living in a property currently, the landlord can't increase the rental rate that much.
Not unless there's a turnover. They can't just, even if your lease is up in Ontario, you go month to month, they can't just arbitrarily increase you. You're still stuck to, it's based on CPI, or Consumer Price Index, that you can increase it on turnover of a tenant, then you could increase that rent, but that would be the only situation. Yeah.
There's an interesting section at the bottom here too. It says Canada's gap between rent and mortgage payments among the largest. It says renting a 3-bedroom apartment is now about 32% cheaper than buying a comparable property, according to a new study by comparethemarket.com. That's one of the largest gaps in the world, with Canada ranking at number 10. Beating out Canada are many European countries where house prices are so expensive that renting can be over 40% cheaper than owning. Luxembourg, Latvia, and Slovakia take the top 3 positions. In the past, renting was sometimes considered to be a poor financial decision, but the rent versus buy debate has been cast in a new light now that house prices in most markets are so high. Renting doesn't always mean you're just throwing money away and just making your landlord richer. Financial commentator Patricia Lovett-Reed told CTV late last year, it's a decent strategy to take that money and invest it in the market. You can be renting and still have wealth creation, particularly if you're young. Nevertheless, most Canadians still dream of home ownership. A full 3/4 of Gen Z adults say they plan to buy a home despite the affordability hurdle.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that is just in people are willing to pay more for a property because they also assume there's a huge assumption because of where values have gone that it is a safe investment, that it's going to increase in value.
Yeah.
So paying 800,000 for a home, even if they feel it's high or too high or what have you, they're still willing to pay that because they assume that it's going to continue going up. And so it's kind of under that assumption that they're willing to undertake that expense or that purchase price. I think that's where the biggest is. So
I think next week we should bring up the kind of 30-year chart again of average home prices in Ottawa. I know we did that about a year ago, but I think it'd be great to see just year over year, just so that people get an understanding as well as to how secure at least the Ottawa market is from an investment standpoint. Again, not financial advice, but historically speaking, I think last we looked at it, I think there was only 1 year that it was down, and it was like 0.1% or something. It was such a nominal decrease. So I think that'd be a valuable stat.
And that the past 2 years, price increases of double digits is not unusual. It has happened in the past, several different instances.
I think it was every 10 years or so it happened.
Yeah, it's basically gone up in double digit increments in the high teens and things like that. So it's not just a rarity this past couple of years. It's just that we're now in the higher price ranges where when it jumps 15% on $1 million home, it's a little bit different when it's 15% on a $150,000 home.
For sure.
those numbers jump out a little bit more. Yeah. Well, what's going on the rest of the week, gentlemen? You got a busy week coming up. I know, Greg, you mentioned you had some listings.
I got some listings coming up. Man, I'm just going back thinking like there's a lot more that we could talk about the show. I have 2 other topics, but I think we're gonna have to cut it, aren't we? I think are we close to our end here? We're just really good at this now.
Give us the high level.
So much to talk about.
Give us the high level.
The high level. That company that I was just on a call with, Air Brick Finance out of the UK. I'm investing in that. And he's agreed to be a guest on the show. Chris Germano, guy's a beauty. We'll have him on in a couple weeks. It's a very interesting platform, but let's leave that for next time because we can get into that. And there was another question that I answered on our Facebook page about no conveyance, and this guy made a comment
touch on that quickly. That was very interesting.
So he said, no conveyance didn't exist until the market in 2020. It's what did he say? Something, it was about like gangsterism or something, like or criminal.
It sounded like it was pretty close to home for him, if I'm being honest. I think
organized crime is what he said. He's like,
maybe explain generally speaking, Greg, what conveyance, no conveyance is, and so on.
So no conveyance means that if an offer, when you see no conveyance on a listing, it means that if someone presents an offer to the agent before that day of no conveyance, that the agent, the clients have agreed that the agent is not to present that offer to them. That if he gets it, he's like, absolutely not. Why are you even doing this? It says no conveyance. See you later. As a realtor, if you present that offer to the client and they agree to look at it, legally, you can get in big trouble. From the real estate board, from the Real Estate Council of Ontario, you'll probably get sued if the sellers take the deal, whatever. It's not fair game. So I think that this, the question, it was a valid question, but it's like people are just uninformed, right? So no conveyance has been around forever, but what used to happen in multiple offers, and the reason that we implemented it was to create a fair playing field for multiple offer situations, because it used to just say, offers presented at this day, and everyone would just be like, okay, they're doing offer presentation. So everybody was mindful, and they would just wait. They wouldn't submit. Preemptive offers wasn't a thing. Like a bully offer wasn't really a thing. And then you would bid, and someone would win. And back in the day when I was first involved in them, all the agents would drive up to the house with their clients in the car, and we would get it all on paper, and we would take it in, and we would sit down with our seller. We would choose the offer. We'd go outside, and it would say respectfully rejected on the offer. We'd give it back to the ones that lost. And then we'd present the winner with their winning offer. If there was 2 that were really close, we'd go back and give it to the 2 closest. And we'd say, give us your best offer. We'd go back inside and wait. Then they'd come knock on the door with their offer. And it was amazing. It was
like a lawn party.
It was so great, because you'd have all these vehicles outside the house. I started like, oh, wow. Right now it's all digital and just madness. last minute, everything coming in. But what happened was bully offers became really common because no one wanted to wait when the market got more aggressive. So what happened was we put in, or they started implementing the no conveyance, meaning like there's no way we're not going to look at a bully offer. We're going to wait. So it just creates a more fair playing field for people to get involved. But on some listings, it'll say no conveyance, but preemptive offers will be reviewed. So it's kind of like a half and half.
That's mixed
offers
messaging.
Presented at preemptives can be accepted or can be accepted. But it just depends on what the seller's looking for. And if you are going to do a preemptive at this point, when there is a no conveyance, it's the seller's almost expecting $100,000 higher, or else they're just going to wait. Bully offers do work. Occasionally, it just depends on how much the seller wants the property and what the property is originally priced at. But yeah, to that question, no conveyance was definitely not created to create multiple offers. It was created to prevent unfair, treatment, I guess, to the buyers. So it makes it more cooperative.
It's an interesting position. I mean, it still is, even if you accept that offer, I mean, you're still, as a seller, you're still, there's still some risk associated there. You're gambling a bit, right? Because, you could accept that offer for, let's say, 70K over, but you could also wait if you're really confident in your property, and maybe you'll get, 10 offers and 150 over. So, I mean, it's like,
or
even
get
if you
lower,
accept it,
or get lower.
Yeah.
Because that person that you already declined might say, the heck with it. I'm not going to resubmit. And you're not getting as high an offer. Like, it is definitely a gamble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not like a home run. It's not like, it's not like you're guaranteed anything at any point in the transaction. It's still a risk. So
I know. I mean, and hey, like, the offer, the bidding wars and all this stuff. I mean, I wish it would end, but I wish, like, I have 2 properties coming up next week. I wish that I could just price them fairly and put them on the market to sell, but sellers, seller wants the opportunity to get the most money they can, right? They all know the risks of doing it. There are risks, but in a market like this, still chances are they're going to get much more.
I miss your auctioneering of your listings.
Oh yeah, we're gonna bring them back. We might have to get these
featured listings.
Yeah, your featured listing.
Oh yeah,
this property is 123 Main Street, and we got a. That was so good.
Yeah,
let's
start that up. Let's start that up again next week. I can do that.
And we're back.
The listings, and we'll do agencies in the office. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Good promotion. Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
For reminding me of that.
Mood boost, gentlemen. I got to make up for last week. Got a lot of negative responses.
There.
Something in my throat today. All right, I got 3. Hopefully they hit. Number 1, I tried, not much of an artist, but I tried to draw a circle, but it was pointless.
That's
slight chuckles. I knew a guy who collected candy canes. Interesting guy. They were all in mint condition. And last but not least, you guys know I'm an active guy. I made a playlist recently for hiking. It has music from Peanuts, the Cranberries, and Eminem. I call it my trail mix.
Yes.
That's it. As always, I don't think we actually gave a shout out at the beginning of the show, but shout out to North Brew Coffee, northbrew.ca. If you go to northbrew.ca, use the promo code podcast. They'll give you 20% off of every coffee order, which is very kind of them. Also, 20% of your order goes towards the Ottawa homeless community. So good coffee, good cause. And thank you, gentlemen, for showing up. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our ace producer, Steve Hopkins. We will be back next week, and this show will be aired Tuesday at 10 a.m. And please make sure to subscribe to any of our channels on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate each and every one of you. Please leave your comments, and if you have anything that you want discussed or any questions about what we've talked about, throw them in there. We answer every question. And as you saw, we will even talk about it on the show. So we might have to bring B-Share on here at some point and just have him rapid fire us some questions.
I would be so down. He
might not make it to the mood boost,
I don't know,
but if he does,
they are welcome.
True. Yeah, it's true.
Would love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may not make it to the mood boost, but so maybe they won't hear this, but yeah. Anyways, great show, gentlemen. Great week, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.